What's up, Pikes Peak RC Arena? Race news around the nation. It is Robbie here to give you guys the latest and greatest news from here, far, and abroad. And today's topic, we're gonna bridge it off of one of the videos I just did not too long ago, actually like 2 videos ago, about secondhand stuff, getting secondhand stuff, selling your stuff, and we're gonna go into when you find it. All right, so I got 2 perfect examples here. They came from the same person, technically 2 different people, because one person bought it from the same person that I got this one from, so technically the same person. And what to look for, how to look for, and like I said, there's a lot of great deals out there. And I have to relate, what's a good price, what isn't a good price. And like I said, I have to relate because it's hard for me on my part where I got discounts, like almost like sponsorship discounts or so on and so forth, getting products, getting vehicles at a different price as opposed to the regular consumer. So I gotta be mindful of that in my personal aspect of things, because if I see something I'm like $900, to me I'm like, golly, I get that thing for $700, but they have all this done to it. It's only been driven this amount of time, so on and so forth. And all right, okay, I can see where the justification is and stuff. All right, so I'm gonna go into these 2 vehicles. The B7, I'm seeing, and I brought the B7 out because there are a lot of B7s on Facebook Marketplace right now. And that's just, I'm talking local here in Colorado Springs. I'm seeing a lot of people sell their stuff right now because the hobby town had closed down. Actually, both hobby towns have closed down here in Colorado Springs, and now there's no more carpet track and stuff like that. So a lot of people are dumping their 10 scales, and I'll go into the 10 scales first. And there's a lot out there. There are so many 10 scales out there. A lot of these people already I know and I've raced with. So again, are they great deals? All right, you got to look at the aspect. What does a B7 buggy sell for now? All right, so we already know we're going to be coming up into that time frame where the second iteration of the B7 is going to probably be coming out with the release of the T7 and the SC7 with their 3-gear transmissions, and the B7 came out with a 5-gear transmission. Now, don't get me wrong, for those that got the B7s, can use the T7 transmission, the 3-gear transmission, because it pretty much sits on the same chassis. But there's a lot of different things that have been done to the new B7 that's coming out, per se. Let's put it this way. Pretty much everything that I've done to this vehicle is pretty much probably what's going to be out in the new B7 reiteration of this. Okay, so probably the B7.1 or the B7.2, whatever it's going to be called. Where this is at is probably what that next version is in stock format. All right. So, and I do got a lot of aftermarket stuff on here. Now, does that increase the value of the vehicle when you do sell it or whatnot? That's kind of hard to say. Are your stock shocks going to come with it? Are your stock components that you taken off and replace going to come with it? Will it work with the setup that you need? All right. So, because there's a lot of things out there. I see a lot of people, carbon fiber arms, the carbon fiber hubs, the sea carriers, aftermarket shock towers, aftermarket shocks, aftermarket wing. There's a lot of things out there. So again, it comes down to being justifiable in your price. Again, I'm seeing so many different prices out there, from $350 all the way up to a little over $1,000. All right, for vehicles. Basically, if you put something into a vehicle, does that increase the value? And that's kind of hard to say. That is kind of hard to say because everybody has a different view on what to add, what not to add. In most cases, I'll now go by Corey's aspect. With Corey, it was more the aspect of simple is more. Springs, maybe the shocks, or the upgrade of the arms, the titanium turnbuckles, so on and so forth, just to bring that weight down. And I've seen people perform with stock, like out of the box kit tune up, outperform me, and it's all because of their driver, their experience of driving and stuff like that, and it's just they're phenomenal, right? But does the vehicle when does it become too much? When does the B7, I'm going to speak directly on the B7 itself, when does the B7 become way overpriced and done up and stuff like that? So it's hard to say. It's very, very hard to say. And with my B7, I have a lot done to it. All right, there's a lot done to it. I am using the -4 chassis, kind of, not really needed on a carpet. You need the longer chassis on carpet, maybe the shorter chassis for dirt or clay, but it has worked well for me. A lot of the factory team aftermarket stuff, i.e. the hubs, the +2 back piece here, the Avid 0 degree toe block, which is the C block in speaking, their lockout kit from Avid. I'm running the Reef servo. Most people run Protex. I'm running all Hobby Wing. I'm running their new G3 style with their new 17.5 Roar Edition motor. Coyote battery, titanium turnbuckles, and then a lot of carbon stuff here and there. And it's not necessarily what people would need or want, so on and so forth. I got the vehicle to where I like it, and where it drives great for me. It may not drive great for somebody else that gets into it, because again, it comes down to, if I were to sell this vehicle, would I get the price would I be asking for? No. Hence why I'm not selling it. All right, that goes. Hence why it's hard, because can I get another one? I got 2 more sitting right behind me, but this one's always been my personal vehicle. This is the vehicle I started off with over at the Pikes Peak RC Arena, and it's done me fine. It's done me fine. I replaced the chassis, didn't need to. Is my chassis tacoed? No, I never went full force into a wall, but I have cased here and there. But I did check the tolerances before the track closed down and stuff, and to make sure everything was G to G. I got the aftermarket Avid shocks on here, but again, does it raise the price of what of the vehicle? Like buying a real car. Does the aftermarket really add that much? And it's kind of hard to say, depending on the community you're in, and if somebody wants it, they're gonna get it, irregardless. They're gonna get it. It's kind of hard to say with the 8 scale, because it's pretty much, be driven almost anywhere. No different from the carpet vehicles. There's a bunch of carpet tracks from West Coast all the way going to the East Coast. I've traveled all around and seen them, and then I can get my vehicle tuned up down to a clay, not necessarily dirt, but mainly for clay and stuff, and it'll work just the same way. It's just a matter of spring adjustment, diff height adjustment, and that's pretty much it, going from there. But my car is more of a spec class car, 17.5, and right now the only place that you can race this, aside Cole's down in Pueblo until he gets his bottom track done, you have 5280, and you have more. But the problem is, the people here in Springs that are selling their vehicles don't want to travel up there. Hence why you see them for sale on Marketplace right now. And like I said, I'm seeing them between the $350 range all the way up to the $1,000 mark. And it comes down to, you got to be very, very mindful of what you look for, what you're looking at. Do you know that person? Have you seen that person drive? How well have they driven? So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that go into it and stuff like that. So again, my B7 isn't going anywhere. It's done me fine. No different from like how my B4 was back in the day for me, wherever my B4 is now, right over there. So, I still have it because it performed perfect for me. All right. Now, The 8 scale world, oh man, there's so much in the 8 scale world right now as to what to get, how to get, and when to get. Right now, we're coming down on the season of people picking up sponsorships, or they're changing their chassis due to other sponsorships, if that makes any sense. So if you got a techno driver and they end up becoming a Mugen driver, obviously they're going to be selling their techno stuff, and that this would be the time frame to look, find, and search for, or I should say buy, an 8 scale buggy, truggy, nitro, or even short course. Again, there's a lot of people out there within this portion of the season as it comes to an end, especially here in Colorado and some of the other northern states. Right now, all the major companies right now are looking for new drivers, or the drivers are renewing their contracts, so on and so forth. And right now would be a great time to look for a awesome used platform. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people will be like, well, the whole chassis, the bottom of the chassis scratched up. I'm going to tell you right now, the day I got my EB4822 and I drove it over in South Carolina, the first time on the track, when it got off the track, it looked like, because I'm so used to driving carpet and we have chassis protectors, the whole bottom of the chassis was scratched up. And that's just normal, all right? There's tolerances that you got to look for on these vehicles, when it regards to the chassis, how worn out it is. And then you get some people that sell their used platforms with the brand new chassis, all right? So this one, obviously you can see there's a couple of scratches. And I want to say this is not even a full season. This is probably about quarter of the season used on this chassis, if not probably about 2 or 3 races, all right? With Isaiah driving this, I should say, golly, the chassis still looks very, very clean. And this is the one that came from Thomas Prindle as well too, and the chassis was replaced. So one thing you want to look for is around this area, right? So your diff sits in this area, your other diff sits right in this area, and these two are always in contact with the ground when you're jumping, or your nose, whatever, if you're crashing, so on and so forth. These two are always your main contact points. And this will get shaved away because it is aluminum. It's just going to continue shaving away with the grit of the dirt, the clay, the rock, so on and so forth. And Rafi is a perfect example where it got so paper thin here, it wore a hole in, and it got to where his diffs are, and it screwed up his race. So he needed a new chassis, and that was on his TLR. And that chassis was used for years, but it served him well, so he had to redo his diffs anyways and put a new chassis on, and that vehicle is good as new with the new chassis, and it still performed the way it should have. So again, those are a lot of things to look for when you're looking at a used chassis, making sure that where the front and rear diffs are, it's not eaten through. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be scratches. There's going to be a lot of scratches. That is not a red flag, okay? Some of these chassis come with aftermarket stuff and will come with extra parts. Both of these vehicles came with extra parts. They came with extra. I'll go into the nitro, right? This nitro truggy that I got from Tom came with extra arms. It came with the what's the other axles? The CVD axles, I should say. The aftermarket ones, depending on what track I'm going to be on, what I would use it for, and it came with the motor, but it did not come with the servos. So the price that I got it for was very, very cheap. I am not gonna lie. I got it. I want to say Tom gave me a very great deal, and I like dealing with Tom because he takes care of his vehicles, all right? Don't get steered away from slop, all right? Techno, along with many of the other vehicles, especially the pillow balls, they got a lot of slop in them, all right? And to me, that's a durability aspect. Not a lot of slop, but some slop, All right, they're always going to have slop, and that's just typical. As opposed to where we don't want it on our on-road cars or our 10 scale vehicles. You don't want no slop at all. On 8 scale, you're going to have slop. All right, so be mindful of that. Look at the shocks, all these around here on the shock towers, because I have not met a driver that has not went upside down yet. All right, so you're always going to be upside down. So yeah, your shock towers are going to scraped up. Just look how far worn it is. Now, keep in mind, these shock tower are very, very thick. All right, so if they're coming down to where they look less than 2.5 millimeters, it looks like it's going to need to replace, because you don't want them bending. And there's a lot of companies out there that sell aftermarket ones. And the cool thing with this one was he gave me the factory shock towers, and I have the 2.2 shock towers on here for more flexibility. So again, there's a lot of things that are on this vehicle. If I were to add them up, I pretty much got the vehicle for free. All right, so if I take the motor, these motors go for about $335 to $390. They're not the most expensive motors, but they perform exceptionally well. But you got the titanium turnbuckles. Obviously, those go for probably about $60 to $70, depending on who they're from. All the aftermarket arms, obviously a pair of arms for Techno are around that $20 range. So I got extra arms. Yeah, just there's a lot of cool things that came with this vehicle that just made it that much better of a purchase, and that includes this one. All this one needed was a servo, and Isaiah got, I want to say he got a Power Hobbies 650 torque servo in that one, and it's serving him really well. So it's not really a snappy fast one. I want to say it's like in 0.12 speed on that on a 7.4, so which is perfectly fine for him. It's something he's not going to notice, not like he does on Call of Duty and stuff. So again, there's a lot of things to look forward to. Also on your I was told with the nitros, because I have not driven that yet, except for that nitro there. The nitros, you want to stock up on the clutch bearing housing bearings. So you want to clutch housing bearings. You want to stock up on those bearings. So again, those are very plentiful. They're very cheap. And I looked at mine. The motor, as what I was told from Tom, it's only got about a gallon of fuel in it, so pretty much break-in. So again, I'm very, very stoked on this vehicle. Everything looks so pristine on here. Okay, so that's one thing I love about this vehicle. And it's a 2.0. Okay, it is a 2.0. It's not a 2.1. It's not a 2.2. And I'm still driving very well with my 2.0. Isaiah's driving very well with this 2.0. And if I want to upgrade, I'll probably change out some things. Maybe the shock towers and stuff like that for mine. But when it comes down not to the chassis. It comes down to how it's tuned. What's the tire game that day, and your shocks and suspension, your fluids, your dip fluids, so on and so forth. That is what makes or breaks your race when it comes down to 8 scale, is adjusting to the track. Because I'll tell you right now, 8 scale, the track is constantly changing. All right, found that out the hard way. So that's why I like the 8 scale so much. You know, it's always changing. So, you know, not only are you racing against your peers, you're also racing against yourself, and it makes you a better driver, driving in different various conditions, track conditions, I should say. Temperature does make a big difference as well too. So again, there's just so many aspects and variables that go into 8 scale racing I love so much. All right. Also, when, like I said, you got a lot of sponsored drivers. They'll be dumping a lot of their stuff depending if they're getting on to new products. Again, you got David Backer. You know, you could probably ask him if he's going to sell any of his Kyosho stuff, because they just came out with the MP11. So who knows? He might let go of one of his chassis or whatnot. I know probably one is sentimental to him because that thing went all around the world for him. But Yeah, just hit up these drivers. Just hit up the drivers. Look for the deals on Marketplace. Again, if you guys got any questions, just hit me up. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I've dealt with a lot of vehicles. We've sold vehicles over at the Hobby Town for customers and stuff like that. For those that know, Scrappy has sold a bunch of stuff that's floated all around the community and sometimes ends up back to him, so which is actually pretty funny. So again, there's a lot of great deals out there for people that don't want to deal with the hobby no more because of Hobbytown closing down, or they just don't want to drive. Okay. Another thing that's going to be picking up, Mini Z. Mini Z is I want to say is a hot pickup right now on top of 8 scale. Mini Z is very big right now, especially with the PNWC going on, and there's a lot of new chassis out there. All right, so I want to try that new Team Associated chassis. I hear great things about it. I hear bad things about it, but then again, it comes down to driver preference. I have pretty much my whole vehicle fleet, which is right there. I'm going to say I got 5 vehicles there that are all reflex. So, and I want to say only one was bought brand new because I've gotten great deals from people, and I want to say 2 of them came from Jamie Fredericks. So, and he's got some great deals on his on Marketplace as well too. He's selling some stuff. So he's a great person to deal with. He's a great person to talk with, and yeah, it's awesome to work and deal with a lot of people in the Facebook Marketplace. Again, I can only probably account for a couple of my vehicles. No, then again, aside the B7, the B7, the TC8, my TT01, the Euro trucks, yeah, pretty much everything else is used minus those vehicles and stuff like that. Now that I think about it, and then obviously the rock crawlers and stuff, yeah, like the my oval vehicles, my oval cars, both of those chassis came from John Carpenter, and I want to say they were not used. I went ahead and did what I need to, and then ordered extra parts, ordered the bodies and stuff, and it was a great investment. And my son and I both enjoy those things very, very much. Went through motors like crazy on that one. That one has the number 3 has a brand new motor in it. So yeah, I got to get over to JT or get over to Kohl's and race over there and stuff like that. So, which would be actually pretty cool. Race the sprints over there. But also, that's another thing I also see as well too, are the and I talked about it in the last video, are the Vortex. There's a lot of Vortex on the Facebook Marketplace locally here. So again, the prices are ranging. I'm seeing 150 all the way up to probably 300-ish. So keep in mind, the vehicle does come ready to run minus a battery and body. But I want to say they went up in price at $269. The old price used to be $249. It went up to $269 now. So that is the price of the Vortex. And then if you find one used, obviously, I hate to say this about the Vortex, and I said this in the last video. I got a little bit of hate on it, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're beat up. I am not going to lie to you. I am not going to whipped cream it with cherries on top. No. I'm going to say 90% of the Vortex here in town that were raced over at the Hobby Town were beat up. All right. They've met the wall, they met barriers, or they've met Pete St. Lawrence. Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, or they've met Rich. I'm going to tell you right now, majority of them are beat up. So again, if you see one, usually they will come with extra parts, although they will have aftermarket parts, which is a little bit justifiable. But keep in mind, the vehicle is brand new, or only $269. Okay, so just be mindful when you look at it. I did talk in my last videos that you know, when you sell your stuff, make sure they're clean and presentable. All right, a perfect example of somebody that sells clean and presentable stuff, aside who I've mentioned already, Thomas Prindle, Scrappy. All right, Scrappy he has to have the book, the box, the bag, the tools, anything that came stock with that vehicle, he has to have with it. All right, and that makes, and a person like that makes the sell that much more better. So he pays attention to the detail. I've dealt with Scrappy a lot, bought bodies from him. I bought 2 128 scale vehicles. I actually bought 4 vehicles from him that are 28 scale. And yeah, it's just there's a lot around here in this community and stuff like that. But again, Scrappy is a very good person to wheel and deal with. If you guys do see him, you can't miss him. He's always wearing a red Kyosho shirt, bald, shiny head dude with glasses. All right, so that is Scrappy, always hanging around with Phil. So he's always got those great deals going on. He doesn't advertise it on like Facebook Marketplace or anything like that. It's just that when he's in a location, he'll bring what he has, and I've pointed many customers towards him. If we didn't not have it in the store, and that person wanted to drive the next day, I took him straight over to Scrappy. All right, so there's a lot of great deals out there. Now, there are some stuff I'm gonna tell you right now that are close to that vintage, but not vintage, that are just obsolete. All right, that you can't get parts for, you can't get the performance out of them, and stuff like that. So I will throw this. Let me throw this vehicle in there in perspective. Okay, so I'm gonna take Charles's. Oh, there's my other skid plate. I can use that. I'm gonna take Charles's Eclipse 5. Very competitive. Basically, it's a downgraded Eclipse 6, and the Eclipse 6 is right there. And yeah, it's a matter of changing the pod and changing some of the suspension components, and I got an Eclipse 6. All right, but when you get it down into, like, let's go into the CR25, the CRC, very outdated, not a classic, not a vintage. It's just, it does not perform. It won't perform as well as the newer vehicles would be. Even like the Team Associated R6 or R5, the 12 scale, the RC12 R5 or 6, can be competitive, but they're not going to outdrive performance-wise like the new Eclipse or the Atomic or the Awesomatics or the X-Ray itself. So again, and don't get me wrong, there are some new platforms out there that are garbage. All right, there are some new platforms out there, and I'm gonna tell you right now, we got a bunch in. When we relocated the store over to the racetrack area, and we got a bunch of these 12 scales, and they just, I've only met one person who was loyal to it from day one all the way till it closed, using that brand. And I'll tell you what, yeah, he did wonders with it. But everybody else, to include myself and the owner, it was just, don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful platform. It was just, things just did not, the things that broke really affected the drivability of the car. All right, and it was just very minute stuff, and you would have to do modifications, or we had to make phone calls, which I've done, and yeah, it's just, So if you ever see those come across the market, they're purple and black, X-Nay. All right, be good GT12 cars, I should say. All right, but other than that, Pikes Peak RC Arena, that is it going on for looking and buying used stuff. There, like I said, there's a lot of great deals out there. A lot of great deals. Just look at what they are. Me, personally, I stay away from vehicles that are beat to crap or just got so much dirt and crap caked up that the person that owns it doesn't care about it. Obviously, if he did not care about the vehicle, he's not going to care about how you feel when you get home looking at the vehicle, finding out that it's broken, missing, cracked, whatever, as long as he got paid. So Me personally, I gotta go through everything and clean everything, making sure there's, you know, and if I got any extra parts, because obviously there's a reason why I'm selling it, I will give the extra parts with it. So, you know, and that's always a good additive to a sell, is when there's extra parts, even extra bodies. You know, somebody would love to have an extra practice body. Thomas Brindle's vehicle, this one right here that I got from Danny, came with this old race body, and I use it for a couple races, mainly for practice, not to take away from his color code pattern or whatnot. We all have our race patterns and stuff, and yeah, so I just use it a couple times. But now I got all LFR bodies and stuff like that, and they're coded to my driver scheme and stuff like that. So yeah, but other than that, Pikes Peak RC Arena, that is it with all the stuff going all around. Like I said, in my last video, I talked about a big humongous event, the PNWC, where you are days away. Over at 5280, Jim McGee's been posting pictures and flyers all over the place, all over Facebook. So again, look up at 5280. It's going to be a big humongous event, as it always is. I hope to see you guys there. It's going to look like it's going to be a very, very, very great turnout for that. All right, the next video, we're going to talk about prepping your bodies, not for paint. I'm talking after paint, and that's mainly for your 8 scale. All right, I'm not going to go too much in the 10 scale, because 10 scale, you want them as light as possible. All right, and 8 scale, you want them to be like tank bodies. All right, you want that armor on there, and there's a lot of things you can do to prevent cracks and rips and tears into your body, and that'll be in my next video segment. All right, but other than that, Pikes Peak RC Arena, we will see you on the next video. Take care. I don't even want to put that back on. All right, let's go see what the doggies are doing.